What a busy day. So I went to Balgowlah, uh, took Baxter for a drive down. And I thought, while I'm over that side of the city, let me go down to where I used to live. So spent some time down in Manly, on the beach, down in Queen's Clift End, where he's just done. He really hates walking these days. Never been much of a walker anyway, but it was hard. He's done now, aren't you, Buff? I left him here when I went for a drive to Bankstown. I was picking up some storage stuff. I've got no storage where I live, so there were some cabinets. I thought, okay, that's going to work. And you wouldn't believe it. On the way back, I dropped one of them coming into the apartment and broke. I was like, so I completely broke. I was like, all right, that's a project to fix. Apart from that, if anybody, so I'll make it perfectly clear, there's nobody in my past in Australia that I want in my life. Not until the last 10 years of lives gets corrected. I've literally won't have anything to do with my mother again or my sister. They started since 2015 accusing me of even using drugs and being an ice user. And I've never touched the stuff. And this was because of who I had sex with. I'm like, but I'm not going out with the person. And this was because they're just, look, I'll be honest, and I hope immigration gets this and understands this as well. My mother's a control freak, narcissistic, toxic human being. Her son was lied about in 2015, and instead of actually correcting that false information that was getting spread, my mother chose to try and use false information about her own son for her own benefit and gain. My twin sister Amanda has shown that she's no better than my mother, and that's the reason why I want nothing to do with them. And that's the reason why I'm going to stay, never have anything to do with them again, as long as I live, because they're not stopping. We're talking about 10 years of my life now. They're not stopping. They've just gone, and my mother's side of the family, just horrible people, horrible. And my dad's side's no better, because you can look at this and say, well, okay, why didn't your dad stand up? Exactly. And besides the fact that we're just going to pin that for a minute and you say, how were they knowing who I was having sex with? So I'm talking about just casual sex, not someone that you would ever socialize with, affiliate with, or have anything to do with in your life. And like, if they weren't monitoring and surveillance and prying and breaking confidentiality and prying laws, then I'm going to add to that and say, my hairdresser Belinda Jeffries, I would like to know when New South Wales police are going to charge her. She's not a friend, she's my hairdresser. Never knew me before late 2013. I went there for a haircut and treatment. Started to invade my life and invade my privacy, thinking I was like-minded to her, which I'm not. She's a cocaine addict and cannabis smoker. Well, it makes it really known, actually. And there's that issue. Then the other issue is, after I was lied about in 2015, who would pop their head up? But I tell you what, this is just Australia. These types of women just infect Australia. It's infested with this. And I'm a homosexual man, but they're infested in Australia. Stephanie DeSalis is not, nor has she ever been a friend of mine, ever. I do know of her. She knows of me briefly. She was told to fuck off in 2006 because of stalking, not even just me, but also my partner, John. And she was stalking me with absolute delusional fantasies. Yeah, so I'm going to do a massive post. It's going to say, that's the facts. Police have committed negligence for 10 years, and they have. I'm not mentally retarded. But when police were committing negligence after I was lied about in 2015, I was a smartass and mockery and sarcastic back. That's true. But no, I'm not mentally retarded and don't use drugs, not involved in drugs, and barely drunk alcohol. And if my mother's side were decent, and I'll say this because they work in legal offices, would have been corrected straight away before it damaged everything. I'm not going to give it too much attention, just say that there's no one in Australia in my past that I want in my life. So if anyone's making up stories and saying, oh, he doesn't see anyone, it's like, well, no, not after the last 10 years, you lied. And if anybody was ever decent in my life, they would be having my back right now with a legal team. If anyone say, like, mum's like, oh, you don't talk to John Tatara. It's like, John Tatara was decent. He would be helping me have these lies the last 10 years corrected. If anyone was decent. And besides the fact, if anyone was decent, in the last 10 years, they would have hung their phone up on my mother when she started her bullshit. Called me and said, this is what's being said about you. What's going on? If we're friends, that's what they would have done. They would have been transparent with me and said, this is what I've seen, this is what I've heard, this is what's happening. I'll get it from the horse's mouth, not social media, not what other people spreading. Justin, if you want to tell me, you tell me. And I'll be like, well, nothing I was got lied about in 2015. I told my mother that it was false information, will you help me correct it? And they didn't. And that's basically it. It's going back and forth for 10 years. So there's only people that I will have in my life is those that are ready to actually stand up and have my back. I get accused of being the character of my stepfather's family. So my mum's second husband, so my ex-stepfather, because they divorced in 95, is Mark Rackley. My father's Mark Fleming, two different people. Mark Rackley and his kids are involved in alcoholism, mental health issues, depression, suicide, attempted suicide type things, cannabis smoking, and heavy drug use such as crystal meth. And that's what organisations gathered, and that's what they projected onto me, and that's what I put up with for 10 years, and I'm turning around going, but the information you have doesn't even relate to me. If anybody was decent in my past, they would have stood by me, and that would have been all corrected straight away back at the latest January 2017. Now it's 10 years. So my mother turns to people and say, oh, he doesn't even want to see his own twin sister. Wake up to their lies and realise, go, well, why? What do you see her? Look what a man has just done in the last 10 years. So why would you see her? Let's turn it back to them and say, that's because you're the problem, Carol. That's because a man is the problem. That's because you guys think yourself righteous with what you've done to his life, and you're not willing to correct the bullshit lies. So when you're ready to do the right thing, maybe he'll speak to you and his sisters. But I wouldn't speak to Amanda either. It's that simple. And that's what I want people to actually start waking up to women and women's lies.